Hi, my name is Dr. John Douillard at LifeSpa.com, where we produce thousands of articles and videos proving ancient wisdom with modern science. Today, I want to talk to you about an ancient Vedic science called Dhanurveda. Dhanurasana, the asana of the bow. Dhanurveda is the Vedic science having to do with archery, having to do with the bow. Dhanurveda traditionally was understood as the Vedic science for transformation, to transform your life. Recent times, Dhanurveda has been regulated to battle strategies and warring strategies, but the original Dhanurvedic science was something way beyond that. Obviously, battles do have a transformational impact, but what Dhanurveda and all Vedic sciences have to do is transformation at a mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual level. So let's talk about Dhanurveda. I'm going to be writing some more articles about that as we dive into the Veda of the bow, the Veda of archery. So when you pull back a bow, to the extent that you actually hold the arrow extremely still, is to the extent of the accuracy of the flight of the arrow. In Ayurveda, or in all Vedic sciences, there's a 4 words that I use to define that. It was written in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 48. But 42 through 48 are really cool verses that you should all read, because it talks about these 4 words, which are: first, we must establish being, and then perform action. Before we engage in any activity, we must establish silence. Like in nature, the sun sits still, perfectly still, yet has this incredible activity around it. A hurricane is very silent in the middle, wind spinning around it. It's something we call the coexistence of opposites, to be totally silent and active at the same time. So Dhanurveda uses the bow as a metaphor for life. When you pull back the bow, you are actually holding it perfectly still, establishing being. And when you release the bow, you're performing action. These are the 2 constructs of a transformational action that we should all know about how to do that, because most of us are engaging in behavior with no awareness and no being and no silence, where many of us are engaging in behavior based on what we think they will like, or what they think people would appreciate or approve of, or I get a reward from. If I do really hard work, I'll get money. If I do really hard work, my boss will like me. We put a lot of energy in the return on investment, and we don't take time to still our mind. And even if we do, in things like yoga and breathing and meditation, we rarely take that silence into action. And that is Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda is the ability to take your meditation, your awareness, the heightened awareness you get in the yoga practice, into your activity, to live the silence in action. I was asked when I was training in India many years ago to write an article on Dhanurveda, the true understanding of Dhanurveda. The Dhanurvedic warrior was the one who was invincible. When they were sleeping, they were alert. When they were in battle, they were totally calm. They had this ability to have the coexistence of opposites, dynamic activity and composure and calm, all the time, 24/7, and they were considered invincible. That article I wrote became the premise of my first athletic video cassette tape series published by Nightingale Conant many years ago, called Invincible Athletics, which then became my book, Body, Mind, and Sport. And we did a lot of research on body, mind, sport, brainwave pattern. Ideally, the goal was to be calm in the midst of activity. And we'll talk more about some of those principles as we dive into the science of Dhanurveda. Dhanurveda is something that I really believe everybody should know about and understand the principles. So in Dhanurveda, the idea is for us to use the bow, and it could be even a golf swing for that matter, but using the bow or anything else, a tennis swing or many other activities, yoga for sure, is a way to be completely still and calm, yet engaged in dynamic activity. And that is the union that yoga talked about. But the key of Dhanurveda was to take it with you into your life. So it becomes transformational transformational with your eyes open during your day-to-day activity. So it wasn't just on the mat you got these benefits. It wasn't just when you're meditating you get these benefits. It was the science of taking it with you. In fact, so many of the things that I've done over the years were sort of always talking about bringing these Dhanurvedic principles out. My transformational awareness meditation course is all about learning how to meditate in a simple way, but how do I take the action from that meditation and bring it to reality, make it something that I own. So anyway, let's talk about the bow for a minute. You pull back the bow, okay? Amazing things are happening when you do this, and I want to do a few videos on this to help guide you deeper and deeper through this experience. But when you pull back the bow, something amazing happens. Number one, you're pulling back the bow, and it's like as if you're pulling back the mind into a complete state of deep silence. Any little movement, I have to be so perfectly still with my bowstring that any little movement will have an exponential distorted effect of the flight of the arrow. So my action will be distorted. So when I pull back the bow, I am completely still, completely aware. As I hold back that bowstring, there is a silence of my mind. In that silence, there's the opportunity for me to become distracted to my outer world. So I have become completely established in being. And then when I release the arrow, I release that arrow freely with no expectation and no dependency on the flight of the arrow. I am not attached to the fruits of the actions. This is a martial art. In China, they have martial arts using the bow. In Japan, they have Kyudo using the bow. In India, they have Dhanurveda using the bow. The bow is a martial art. And the martial art teaches us that when we pull back the bow, I am deeply engaged in the process of pulling back the bow, becoming completely aware and still in my own silence. And then the action happens automatically, effortlessly. In the same way, when I breathe in air, my diaphragm is contracting, pulling air in as deeply as I can. And when I exhale, it's a release. It's an effortless release of that air. It's an effortless action, the exhalation, where the inhale, pulling back the bow, everything is really pulled back very, very tightly. My muscles are contracted, dynamic, yet I am perfectly still. And then in that silence, I'm completely established in being, and then I perform action without an expectation. I have an intention that the arrow will fly straight and do its job, but I am not affected by the outcome. My attention is not on the target. My attention is in my being, is established in being. And this is a great metaphor for many sports, which is why I wrote the book, Body, Mind, and Sport, to teach people how to use these principles in activity and sport. Same principle why a karate person can break a board is you're completely focused on the process and not the goal. And by being aware of the process, you actually achieve the goal. But you're not dependent, your happiness, your success is not dependent on the target, is not dependent on the goal. So when you release the arrow, you're free. The arrow is free. You're not attached to the outcome. So they did a study on this, and they compared two types of giving, hedonistic giving and eudaimonic giving. Hedonistic giving means I'm giving you this gift, but I hope that you like it. I have a little bit of an expectation and hope that you like the gift that I just gave you. Eudaimonic giving is when I give to you, it's called eudaimonistic giving actually, that where I give you this gift in a way that I don't have any expectation that you like it. I am loving giving you this gift. I care so much about giving you this gift that it's for me. I'm the sun. I'm shining this light. I don't care if the flower blossoms. I don't care if you cut down those trees. I'm just doing my thing, giving you this gift. It's a eudaimonistic way of giving. And it's connected to something more truthful inside of us. Well, they measure the impact of that giving on the genetic code, and they found that when you give hedonistically, it actually had no deep effect, but even some negative effect epigenetically. But when you give eudaimonistically with no expectation, it changed the genetic code in a positive way, meaning that when you give at that level, it has a powerful, penetrating impact, an impact that we don't even understand or get, but at a deep level of our feeling, perhaps on our microbiome level, they feel everything. And they morph based on that, because they're all the guys telling us genetically how to protect against this crazy world. And when you give it a complete deep way with no expectation, no care of the outcome, no needing the fruits of your actions, you change the body and you connect at a much, much deeper level. When you pull back the bow and you establish being perfectly still in your own silence, and you become established in your being, then you release the bow from that being. You're not dependent, attached to the target. Your intention is there at the target, but your attention is on yourself. You're doing you. And how many of us do us in our lives? How many spend most of our time doing them, engaging in behavior, hoping they like us, they appreciate us? I dress up really nice, so I hope they like us. I make a lot of money, so I get the reward. It's reward, dopamine, stimulants, coffee, money, power, fame, America. These are the things that we have to become aware of, and the true sort of superheroes of ancient times were the Dhanurvedic warriors, the ones who were invincible. So pretty cool concept. There's a whole Vedic science about it, and I want to start to bring you more and more the knowledge of the bow, the Vedic science of transformation. Thanks for listening. You can get this article in detail about Dhanurveda, this part 1 article on Dhanurveda at my LifeSpa, at my website at lifespa.com, where we prove ancient wisdom with modern science. Thanks for listening. Hi, did you like this video? Do you like our content here at LifeSpa? You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/John Douillard right here and get this valuable content every week in your inbox.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at lifespa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.